Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Sezin Palmer with EY, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Wendy Batchelder. She is the Senior Vice President and Chief Data Officer at Centene Corporation. So you touched on governance a bit in terms, you said before, trust in the data. There's lots of aspects across many components, including ethical use. Where do you want to apply it? Where do you not want to apply it? We see a lot of organizations struggling with that, both with kind of data maturity and data governance, as well as sort of AI governance, and along the lines of what, you mentioned in terms of the ethical use, trust, not having bias, all those kinds of things. So can you say a little bit about how Centene is tackling some of those issues, and as CDO, what some of your top priorities are to deal with them?
Yeah, the company is, I think, in a really important moment in using data and AI to effectively support our members, providers, and other stakeholders. And I think it's true that we're only as good as our data. And maturity really plays a significant role in how effective we can be. So if we think about AI as an example, we have spent a lot of time in the last year really building out and strengthening our data strategy and making sure that we're anchoring quality data to help drive our AI capabilities. And so when I think about what that means, I really think about getting to trust as the anchor point. And from there, data transparency to me is paramount. Does not mean that you need every single data element in your entire company to be perfect. That would be cost prohibitive, right? But really prioritizing, where are we going to be using data? Which use cases are most important? What level of quality is acceptable? And do we have end-to-end transparency to really understand, where did this data come from? How has it been modified, manipulated, changed, curated, whatever the case is, but really being intentional and thoughtful around how do we get to that trusted data model for the things that are really important. Because, like I said, you're never going to have perfect data in an organization, and you could spend every dollar you have and you would still not have perfect data. So where do you really focus those efforts and zero in on that? So my role as Chief Data Officer, I want to make sure that the right people have the best and most powerful data that they can to be effective, and really being thoughtful about how do we prioritize that, which use cases matter the most, and then ensure that we're really focusing on that trusted data for those use cases. So, that purpose of trust is really important to me. And it's something that I've really advocated for as a chief data officer, even before working at Centene in my time at Salesforce. And that's, been the centerpiece too. How do we ensure that we never breach trust with our customers? Because once you do, it is exceptionally hard to repair that. So just really thinking about, how do we ensure that we don't breach trust? And that's in the eye of the beholder. So really thinking about our stakeholders and what they expect from us. We are holding people's medical information, and that requires the right care of that data, so that we can provide, care for them. So when I think about data governance here at Centene, making sure that we're really crystal clear with our stakeholders about the outcomes that they're trying to achieve, and what we need to do from a data perspective to help enable our business stakeholders to get the outcomes that they want. And so again, just coming back to, how are we being intentional on how we're using information? Do we have all the right guardrails in place to make sure that we have the right governance over the right data at the right time, and that we use that data effectively to propel the right AI that's really aligned with our values? So to me, it's trust and transparency. Those are the two that we need in place to really have the winning combination.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the kind of guiding principles of
Yeah.
the data and
Yeah.
AI, and that sort of it. It sounds like it's really having a strong impact in terms of how you think about it. So that's fantastic. You also mentioned the pace of innovation, and you talked about kind of having to refresh data strategy. Certainly more than every few years.
Yeah.
Given the landscape. So how do you think about technology in terms of, what you're going to implement, the key decisions that you're going to make around technology and data, that's governing, use of all of these systems, sort of the foundational capabilities, given all that uncertainty in the future? Like, how do you make those decisions, recognizing that things are going to change a lot and quickly?
Yeah, they are. And so part of my, I almost want to say like my banging my fist on the table moments in this is that we have to continue to think about how we're planning to use it, meaning AI and data, in a way that is anchored to like not missing the bell curve here on all the things that are available to us, but that we are always being intentional. What are we really trying to accomplish with this? I do think that so many people start to explore an AI and experiment, which I think is great and helps lead to a lot of innovation. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, like really thinking about what could go wrong. And what could go wrong, it has a lot of different perspectives, but are we really balancing the risk and reward in a way that if a member saw or a regulator saw or, the average human saw the way that we were using AI or data, would it feel aligned with our values? And to really step back and think about that intentionally in partnership with lots of different stakeholders across our organization, whether that's our CIO, myself as CDO, tech advancement, compliance, you know, all of those, all of those roles, including security, are at the table, really thoughtfully evaluating the use cases that we're considering so that we're getting as many people around the table with the business locked arms to say, is this the right thing to do? What are the pros? What are the cons? Are we thinking about the risk appropriately? And then as we move forward, that we're taking a very measured and intentional approach, focusing on what's aligned with our values and has clear, deliverable, tangible benefits that really make a difference. And instead of, kind of rushing to participate in the AI moment, taking that approach means that we're being deliberate with how we're spending dollars and that we're ensuring that everything we do is aligned to trust. And for example, we use AI to help accelerate access to care, such as accelerating prior authorizations, but we do not make decisions with AI that would deny or delay care. We don't use automation to deny care ever, period. And that's a really hard line that we've taken because we know that our purpose is to get people healthy and keep them healthy. And doing that, denying care, is just it's a too big of a risk for us. We would not feel comfortable using it in that way. So we want to make sure that everything we're doing with AI is trust building and not trust eroding.
Wendy, thank you so much for joining today. It was wonderful to hear everything going on at Centene and your vision and the great work that you're leading. So thank you.
Thank you.
And for more interviews and insights, please visit cdomagazine.tech.